Capcom just gave us a ton of information in their Capcom Spotlight event held earlier this week, which included a short section on their newest entry into the Resident Evil franchise, being Resident Evil Requiem. Here we learn of previous plans to what this game was originally supposed to be, why they aren't going with a familiar character like Leon as the main character, emphasis on main, the different gameplay feel that they're going for with this title, and more. So if any of that interests you, make sure to stick around. But before getting into all the news, make sure to show off your hype for RE9 by scrolling down and hitting those like and subscribe buttons so I know you guys are enjoying the content, and so we can reach our like goal of 25 likes on this video. But without further ado, let's get right into the details presented during Capcom's Resident Evil Requiem Spotlight. First, let's start with Leon. Is he in the game or is he not? So far, no one can say for certain, but as of the Spotlight, we now know that Leon was majorly considered for being the main protagonist for Requiem. During the creator message and various interviews seen in the Spotlight, game director Koshi Nakanishi went on record as to say, quote, "We always thought about making Leon the protagonist, but making a horror game based around him is difficult. He wouldn't jump at something like a bucket falling, no one wants to see Leon scared by every little thing, so he's actually quite a bad match for horror." Basically, you can sum this up as him essentially saying that Leon has gone through so many horrors, BOWs, and just zombies overall in his journey throughout the Resident Evil franchise that at this point, he is too badass to be scared over things like eerie noises down the hall, or being really startled by a random noise from something like a bucket dropping, as he put it. Now, to confirm, they did say he was considered for being the protagonist, but decided against it for assumingly this reason primarily, but they didn't say he won't be in the game at all. On top of that, taking from what we know about what Jeff Keighley's already said about RE9 after the presentation during Summer Game Fest, this game will reportedly have more action-heavy parts too. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure to check out this video that you can see on screen, which will be linked down below in the description of this video to find out exactly what I mean by what Jeff mentioned about this game having both a new feel while also having cinematic action segments. Now, because these two segments are always mentioned separately by both the creators and by Jeff in these two separate instances, it makes me feel like these segments will be handled by two different characters. Namely, of course, being Grace for those horror, fearful, intense moments that are said to feel like Alien Isolation, where you run and hide from the monster that's hunting you, to the heavy action moments where you're taking down numerous enemies with someone like Leon. At least that's how I see this going down. Plus, just in my opinion, I feel like it would be a missed opportunity to not revisit something like the Raccoon City Police Department, which was shown in the trailer, and not have Leon being the one to do it. I could see Leon having one of two types of gameplay segments in this game, by the way. Either a Chris Redfield in Resident Evil Village section, where he just cleans up shop towards the end and is maybe a big reveal and part of why Grace makes it out of the game in one piece, or a more Ava in Resident Evil 4 Separate Ways approach, where he has an intertwining story section happening at the same time as Grace, doing what he needs to do on the side while Grace is going what she's going through, and has reasons as to why he can't help her out immediately as he tackles the more action segments in the game, where they could either be entirely separate campaigns, like you have to play through Grace to unlock Leon's campaign side B, or these would be intertwined gameplay moments to make up one campaign through and through, where one section you're playing as Grace, and then another section after a set piece is done, you move on to Leon, and vice versa. Overall, their decision to not make him the main character in these more tense Alien Isolation-esque gameplay segments, I think is a great idea, so they don't ruin the image that he's built in the franchise over the years of being a fan favorite character, while also introducing a new character who does have ties to Raccoon City itself, with everything that happened to Alyssa, Grace's mother, and the plot they could be trying to tap into with that dynamic. Also, with them saying that they want Grace to more mirror the player by including someone who, quote, experiences horror in the same perspective as a player as she learns to overcome her fear throughout the course of the story, I think is a pretty awesome idea, as it relays the feeling of someone who becomes accustomed to playing through a horror game. At first, you're really scared and tense at every little thing, But as you get used to the mechanics and how you're supposed to play the game and things that are coming at you, you get a little less frightened of things coming at you and are able to handle them more effectively. Although, they do mention in their PlayStation blog post that they have some ways of keeping the players tense and on their toes throughout the playthrough, so maybe we won't be getting all too comfortable as we progress through the Grace segments after all. In the same blog post, they do mention that the new style of gameplay that I keep comparing to Alien Isolation is what they themselves call, quote, addictive horror, and seems to be at the forefront of what they want Resident Evil Requiem to lean into. Moving on, along with knowing that Leon was supposed to be the main protagonist originally, we also learned that Resident Evil Requiem wasn't always this fear at the forefront type of game. Apparently, this project was going to be another online Resident Evil type of game. This one, from what they showed at the beginning of the creator message, looks like some sort of Resident Evil Outbreak PvE game, where on the top right you can see some sort of bar progressing like the infection meter in Outbreak, and of course going against zombies and BOWs like Mr. X with other players in a seemingly open world, where a fog seems to play a pretty big factor into its gameplay. This is seemingly why they felt they needed to clarify that Resident Evil Requiem would be a single-player offline game at the beginning of the presentation, in case maybe some of these early test builds or projects leaked or were rumored, which is a major difference of reports of what we've heard so far as to what this title in particular is going for. Throughout the presentation, we also get confirmation that this game is going to be scary and a true call to the horror genre. Our major hints, of course, coming from what we touched on earlier, with Leon not being the protagonist because it wouldn't make sense to have Leon scared and reflective of what the player might feel, along with the introduction of the timid-looking Grace Ashcroft as the main character. I can already see I'm going to have to be playing this game with a fresh new pair of pants at the ready. I mean, we have this insanely tall, scary-looking monster slowly shambling and making their way towards Grace in the narrow hallways of what I assume is the hotel Grace's mom died at, that she went back to investigate, as we can see from the room number and main hallway shown off during these screenshots. Along with that, we also see sections of the hotel where Grace is walking around with a lighter, and oh my god, do these hallways look like they get dark. I mean, it looks pitch black trying to navigate these hallways, especially if you don't have the lighter on hand, with some of the only light being some of these red emergency lights bouncing off the wall while the monster is hunting for you. And if you don't know already, yes, the monster will be actively looking for you, which again, what we know of the gameplay so far is covered in this video shown, so make sure to check it out if you're interested. The monster seemingly travels through the vents, as we got to see from it dropping from the ceiling in this moment in the trailer, and it actively roams around too. Personally, I wonder what the systems are going to be for it to quote-unquote find you. There is it just actively seeing you, of course, or maybe making a loud scripted noise to be able to progress to a different part of the map or story, where it will probably start to hunt you. But will there be other ways that it can find you? That's what I'm interested to find out. And if the monster gains the ability to run, as in the gameplay snippet shown so far, it only seems to shamble or walk towards you, it would probably be relatively easy to avoid unless later on it gets additional speed or features later in the game. And to this point in particular, it kind of reminds me of what we touched on that point in the blog post earlier, where it kind of hints that we won't be comfortable throughout the whole playthrough. So maybe the monster running at you or gaining speed will be a new mechanic that's added later on into the playthrough. And I'm telling you right now, if this thing's running at me, I might just chuck the controller at my wall. That about wraps it up for everything we got information-wise for Resident Evil Requiem that we got from this creator message, but from the title of these interviews, we know eventually we'll be getting more of them since it's called Creator Message Number 1. Not only that, but during the Capcom Spotlight, we heard an interviewee say something about Alyssa Ashcroft, but that section was nowhere to be found in this video's full version as of yet, meaning they're probably saving that for another presentation event like Gamescom or the Game Awards later this year, where they will announce something like a part 2 being released online after their presentation. With all of that out of the way, let me know if you're like me and still holding out hope that someone like Leon will make it into the game through action segments in the game, if you like their pivot from an RE Outbreak styled game to what we have now in Requiem, and lastly, if you're excited to experience this addictive horror gameplay style in the comment section down below. For everyone who's made it this far, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed or found it entertaining, make sure to scroll down and make that like button glow so we can reach our like goal of 25 likes for this video. As always, your support through your viewership, liking, and subscribing is always greatly appreciated and helps me out tremendously against the undead threat that is the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to catch you guys next time. Peace!